Hello, good morning, bienvenue, welcome to Plagne in France, where we are here for the fourth race weekend of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven, welcome to the French Alps, to the venue for the 92 Winter Olympic Games, host city Albertville, and this track was built for those games. It trickles its way, in fact it hurtles its way down a narrow ravine some 1,700 meters above sea level in one of France's most popular ski areas. And it is a real driver's track. It's the first time we've been here in 5 years, only the fourth time in a decade. It's got a very long flat start, but as soon as you get into the sled, you start to pick up speed very quickly. If you listen to the wind noise here from our POV camera, you'll hear the acceleration dramatically, very, very different compared to Winterberg last weekend. First big pressure corner is corner 4, and then rattling down through 5, and then into corner 6. This is one of the first big trouble areas. Double pressure here, late pressure on the exit can mean a big flop into the labyrinth. 7, 8, 9, and then again corner 10. Big 2 pressure corner here, 3 to 4 Gs in these sleds through 11, and then corner 12, another double pressure corner. Round about 70 miles an hour here, the corners longer and faster, but all high G. Into 15, very short crossover into 16, about half a second as you travel in a bobsleigh. And then flattening out a little bit, 17, 18, and the final corner, corner 19, you can win or lose between 15 and 16 and the finish line. It is a long track, over 1,500 meters, and it takes over a minute to get down. At least that's the current track record. Well, it's been a stunning morning, and looking forward to some great racing here. Kaillie Humphries, now racing for the USA, is our World Cup points leader. From our winner last time out, Stephanie Schneider of Germany. Olympic champion Mariama Yamanka lies in third, ahead of Christine de Bruyne from Canada. Well, in the 3 races in this decade, Kaillie Humphries has won 2 and taken a bronze medal in the most recent, all for Canada, of course. But Alana Myers-Taylor, the last winner here, not racing. Of course, she is at home brewing up baby tea during the course of this year. So hi to Alana and Nick Taylor, her husband, and good luck with that. We have 14 sleds in the field, including 2 world debuts for France and for Italy. So we will get to them in a moment or two. Of the 9 medals that have been handed out in women's bobsleigh on this track in the last decade, only 2 have not gone to Canada or the USA. Kathleen Martini and Janina Tischer took a silver medal behind Kaillie in 2011 and 12, and Fabienne Meyer and Hannah Schenk took a bronze that year for Switzerland. Well, our start order starts with the blonde twins, not actually twins, Margot Bosch and Carla Seneschal from France. And also, you just saw Tania Vicenzino and Anna Schenk for Italy. They will make their World Cup debut here as well. So making their World Cup debut, and first off to get things underway, 20-year-old Margot Bosch and 23-year-old brakewoman Carla Seneschal from nearby Chambéry. Seneschal, a French-Italian, Margot Bosch following in family footsteps. Her dad was a bobsledder. Now let's see what they can produce here on home ice. What a great place to be able to make their debut. Margot still very new in her career, like her French teammate. She comes from Moutier and now lives in Plagne. She's won medals in Europa Cup in 2 women bobsleigh and also in monobob. And a neat looking run down to corner 6 so far. Good exit off 6, sets you up for this labyrinth. And then through corner 10. Cold frosty night last night. Look at the track though, it's in stunning condition. Track work has been really at it hard all week. And we saw records being ripped up yesterday in both men and women's skeleton races. Out of 16, still looking good, Margot Bosch. This is a nice run for her. Roman Heinrich was helping her with training between Christmas and New Year on this track. Fellow Moutier resident, and there you go, tucks ahead under the cowl, 101.14. And Max Robert, the smiling figure of the former Olympic brakeman there, who is coaching his French team. Well, a great way to start a World Cup career for the 2 blonde-haired, blue-eyed French sliders. They always say that everybody thinks they're twins because they're almost identical in height and look remarkably similar. So Margot Bosch, Carla Seneschal get our Women's World Cup racing underway here for the first time since 2015. Welcome to the World Cup, ladies. Well, next up is Misha McNeill of Great Britain, Youth Olympic silver medalist in 2012. Youth Olympic Games just opened a couple of days ago in Lausanne, Switzerland. Junior world champion in 2017. She's got Montel Douglas back behind her. Monty arrived on Friday last week. Her first push of the season was the first push of the race in Winterberg. So she's racing again this weekend in place of track cyclist Vicky Williamson because Monty needs some run repetition to get her speed up. 6:74 start. 36th World Cup start of Misha McNeill's career. Best race result for her in Altenburg last year, in 4th place after leading the first heat. 2100s behind the French here, but this is the sort of track that anybody who can do well in Altenburg should be enjoying. It's fast, lots of high pressure corners, 19 turns in 1500 meters. This is a busy, busy track. Good looking run from Mish, 2400s back. Now, can she find a bit more speed? The French had 106.8, she's got 106.0, 122.9 to 123.1 of Margot Bosch. So it was a good run from Margot Bosch, and she should have the lead by maybe a tenth or more. 2400s over Misha McNeill, so Misha in 2nd place. And there you saw Vicky Williamson in the coach's box, watching the action, converted from track cycling into another Olympic discipline of a very different nature, and converting her legs into moving in a different direction is going to be the big challenge for her. 6:74 start and a 2400s deficit to Margot Bosch at the moment for Misha McNeill. Not a bad looking run, just a little bump on the wall there. Little bits to tidy up. And as Monty starts to come on stream, the starts will pick up as well. Our second debutante of the weekend, Tania Vicenzino and Anna Schenk. Tania's 33, she's done about a dozen races in Europa Cup bobsleigh and monobob combined. And Anna Schenk, her 25-year-old brakewoman, has exactly 4 bob race starts and only 2 finishes. Running it long down into the first corner. We'll see a lot of that in the bobsleigh racing. 6:84 start for our Italian rookies. And this is the 2nd Italian women's team we've seen this season. Their teammates made their debuts in Winterberg last weekend. As you can see, Tania making a lot of touches on the wall on the way down the track, already half a second back. She will get a second heat here as long as she gets the finish line. 14 sleds in the race and up to 20 spots available in the second heat. It was a pretty busy track to make your debut. She really hauled it down into the second pressure, and that unfortunately has caused the crash, and she is a long way from the finish line. Corner 16. She was worried that she was rising too high too early, but they do cross the line. If they are fit and healthy, they can be allowed to take a second run. Now, they're a very inexperienced crew. The brakewoman has had a couple of crashes before, Anna Schenk. They're going to try and stay in the cowl, but ideally they would really have liked to have stopped the sled sliding all the way back to the low point, because it's going to go back up and then come back down until it eventually settles. The track workers are experienced here, and so they will know where to try and grab the sled. And there is the deck for taking the sled out at the lowest point of the track. She really hauled it down off the second pressure. She knew she was in trouble. She's trying to keep it low now to get a decent exit. But the problem is centrifugal force is now pushing the sled away from where she's driving it. It rises on the exit, and then the weight of the bodies just continue that rolling motion. You can see her brakewoman Anna Schenk there, flung out of the seat and sliding down the ice. Again, another good reason why helmets naturally are mandatory in this sport, but why Burns vests should be as well. A lot of the athletes do wear them, particularly those who are still learning their craft. So we'll have a 5-minute track hold now, which means that Lara Nolte of Germany will have to wait at the start. So they will go back into the changing room. Lots of fans here out to see the action. And there will be plenty of that, whether it's in terms of high-speed drama. You really get a feel when you're by the track here just how quickly these sleds are motoring. And a great opportunity on a bobsleigh track to be right up with the action. And there you can see the start area. Those are the grooves that are cut to guide the sled before the driver gets in. And they're long here, very long. They run out just over the brow. But all the athletes feel that this is more of a half marathon than a sprint at the start. So we'll hope for good news for Tania Vicentino and Anna Schenk. Our debutants from Italy. Well, there is the sled, so you can see Tania walking down there, so red helmet. The medical crews are down there as well, so they will have had a chat to the girls to see how they're doing. There's a little crane there to help crane the sled out, particularly for a four-man, because they tend to be a bit on the heavy side. The only disadvantage now for the team is that there are no scabbards there to protect the runners, so the sled will be lifted out by the track workers on its side. They'll then have to get a vehicle to bring the scabbards down from the finish area. It's just a straight drive down the hill. And there's Tania just saying, yeah, okay, look, take care of the runners, please. I think she is definitely up for a second heat, as long as the medics pass them healthy, which I think they may well do. You see the gouges in the track as the cowl and particularly often the brake arm, or the push bar rather, comes out a little bit. And the track workers here looking for any holes or gaps. They'll slush those in. It's a little bit of ice and water, and you apply it like you would do plastering in gaps in a wall, and then it freezes into the ice. So 3 sleds into our 14 sled run here. The first of 2 heats, as ever, both heats will count. And it's the 4th Women's World Cup of the season. The first 2 in the double weekend of action in Lake Placid. Raced again last week in Winterberg. And the sled of Lara Nolte, who made her World Cup debut there, is the next to go. Lara Nolte, the Youth Olympic champion from 2016. That's when the Youth Olympic Games were held in Lillehammer in Norway. Lillehammer not being used in the bobsleigh and skeleton World Cup for a long while. Be great to be able to go back to the former Olympic track and get some more racing in there. I think everybody's been extremely keen to come back to La Plagne here, not least the track officials. They do phenomenal business during the winter with this track as a tourist attraction. You can go down in a taxi bob, you can go down as a family in a raft, a big group of people in an inflatable raft, or you can go down in a little monobob, which is pushed off at the top with you sealed inside it, like a little capsule. And they turn over enough money to keep this track very firmly alive, but they are very intent that it will become a racetrack as well as a tourist attraction. So great to be back on the World Cup Tour. Nice to be back here for the first time in 5 years. And again, as when we came in 2011, 2012, for a lot of the athletes then it was new. For a lot of the athletes now it is new. Only 3 of our women's drivers were in the field in 2015 as drivers. So, Anne van Nieuwenhuis of Belgium, Kaillie Humphries, who won 2 of the last 3 races here and took a bronze in the 3rd. And Nadezhda Sergeva of Russia, who was then in the early stages of her, like Anne van Nieuwenhuis was, of her driving career. They're the only 3 to have driven here. Stephanie Schneider came here as a brakewoman in all 3 races. She had 2 5ths and a 6th, with first Sandra Kyriasis and then the last 2 races with Kathleen Martini. Kathleen taking a silver medal with Janine Tischer in the first race in 2011-2012. Alana Myers-Taylor raced here as well. Anja Schneider-Heinze, she raced here as well. She's back this weekend. She's a member of the jury. Victoria Tokovaya, she was racing here as well in the last 3 World Cup races. She's coaching the Russian team. And Elfa Williamson also raced here for Belgium, and she is also here coaching. So a few drivers turn coaches, a few drivers still competing, and lots of the track officials, lots of the race officials here as well. We've got a long break we're hearing now from the race director, a 10-minute hold. And this is going to put a bit of a kink into everybody, because you warm up and you approach, you sort of back time your warm-up from the start of the race, and time your warming up so that you are ready to go but not too tired to push. And unfortunately, a 10-minute hold puts a kink in for everybody. Well, there you see a great view of the track. Just rushing down this mountain gorge. Really scenic location for bobsledding. And despite the fact that it is a modern concrete track, it really blends in superbly. You still get the feel when you're walking here that you are in the forest on the side of the mountain, very much. And the start area is one of the key elements here. It really suits the sprinters rather than the power athletes. So let's take a look then at the 92 Winter Olympic venue here at the Plagne. 119 meters of vertical drop, 1,500 meters. And listen here, you hear the rumble of the runners first, then as everybody loads down into turn 1, and you'll see athletes in the 4-man still sitting down in turn 1, already picking up speed in the way that they wish they could in Winterberg. Little dig there, corner 3, corner 4, first pressure, second pressure right at the end. Nice quiet hands through 5, that's where the men's loose start comes in. Then corner 6, really starting to pick up speed now. Women's loose start coming in shortly as we get down to corner 10. Then into Labyrinth 11 and 12. 13, 14, absolutely flying now, 70 miles an hour and still building speed. And down into this really tricky crossover, 15 to 16, that's where the crash was on the exit. 17, 18, the 3 right-handers at the bottom. Long run here into 19 is almost flat, looks like, not when you're walking it. And then 20, and then the climb up to the finish, into the finish shed, which is, compared to modern Olympic tracks, very short indeed. And you've got to be very sharp on the brakes. You see them there, slushing in some of the holes in the wall. As you can see from their attire, a lot of these track workers worked on the track in Sochi during the Winter Games there. A lot of them were actually also responsible for part of the icing of Pyeongchang in its early days as well. Well, fabulous views wherever you look. Season started in Lake Placid. Now, it's due to start in Salt Lake City, but trouble with the refrigeration system there meant that they had to waive off. So we had 2 weeks of racing in Lake Placid. Kaillie Humphries, the winner of the first race of the weekend, her first race in the World Cup as an American athlete, having got married to her boyfriend over the summer, moved to the States. She and Lauren Gibbs claimed gold in her BMW sled ahead of Stephanie Schneider and Kim Kalicki on her World Cup debut, Kalicki getting a bronze medal. Second race weekend, also in Lake Placid, and a week later, Kaillie Humphries doubled up, this time in her own BTC sled, again with Lauren Gibbs behind her. Gibbs Hobbs has gone from being an alternate 5 or 6 years ago, working her way into the team, to being the #1 choice for the US brake crew. And Kaillie taking 2 for 2 in 2 different kinds of sled. It shows the ability of the driver. Kaillie going one better to take a silver medal ahead of Christine de Bruyn of Canada. So Kim Kaillie leaving North America, 2nd in the World Cup rankings on her debut. But in Winterberg in Germany, it was Lara Nolte who took her place. And taking Kaillie's place on the top step of the podium, Stephanie Schneider, former brakewoman, now eclipsing anything that she earned in terms of results as a brakewoman with her driving abilities. Tucks ahead under the cowl to grab victory from teammate Mariama Yamanka, beating the Olympic champion by 400 as Lara Nolte makes her debut and gets a bronze medal. Kaillie still leading the World Cup standings after the first 3 races of the season. She finished in 4th place, just off the podium, which is not a regular occurrence for Kaillie Humphries. Today she will make her 122nd World Cup start after the first 8 as a brakewoman. And Kaillie Humphries has 50 podiums in her World Cup driving career. Well, last time we were here, Kaillie Humphries with Melissa Lockholtz for Canada took the bronze medal. Jamie Grubel-Poser and Lauren Williams for the USA were the silver medalists. Jamie's 2nd straight silver, but it was victory for this duo, Alana Myers-Taylor and Sherelle Garrett in La Plagne. That was in the 2014-15 season, our last World Cup race here. As we said, Alana not retired, at least not officially. She is waiting the birth of her first child, so her and Nick Taylor are eagerly awaiting a new arrival in the Taylor household. It'll be interesting to see quite what happens with a return to the track, whether that'll be next season or the season after. I guess if she's hoping to make it to Beijing, then next season would definitely be the preferable time to give her a 2-season run-in to the Games. 2 years away from the track can make a big difference. Kaillie Humphries spent last year not driving. All sorts of changes in your life happen when you are no longer ground to the wheel of performance, and all sorts of changes happened in her life. Gives an athlete a great chance to have a little bit of mind space as well as body respite. You often come back a lot healthier. So it looks like we are getting ready to go. A couple of minutes from our restart. So next up, Lara Nolte making her 2nd ever start in the World Cup in women's bobsleigh. 21 years old, Lara, from Dortmund. Youth Olympic champion from Lillehammer 2016 in girls bobsleigh. Took a bronze medal last week on her World Cup debut. Has raced up to now in the European Cup. She was the runner-up in terms of points last year. Deborah Levy behind her made her debut with Lara last weekend. 22-year-old from Wiesbaden. So in fact, that is not correct. Deborah has had 2 World Cup starts before now, and she's had a bronze medal out of both of them. So 1 minute countdown before they get the sled onto the ice. And our race about to get back underway with the 4th of our 14 sleds for Germany, Lara Nolte. Race 4 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup gets back underway here at La Plagne in France. Martin Haven trackside, watching the action as Lara Nolte and Deborah Levy from Germany get ready to make their second World Cup start together. Bronze medal last week in Winterberg.
For Germany, for Laura.
60-second clock will start when you hear the tone at the top of the track. And you must then break the start beam, not leave the block, break the start beam, which is just beyond the block, within that 60 seconds. Well, they'll waste no time getting underway. Let's see how long Deborah Levy runs this down to the first corner. 21-year-old driver leaps in, but doesn't get in cleanly. Luckily, corner one is a long way away. So that's a 6:41 start for her. That is 2/10 quicker than Margot Bosch of France, our current leader, who is the first sled out of the start hut. 3,700s out, up into the lead rather. Lara Nolte, she's looking a little late on some of the early turns. Getting her rhythm now. Cold night last night. The track they're probably going to find, as we did in the skeleton yesterday, is quite a lot quicker than training. Out of 16, neat and tidy. Good speed on board. 125.4, 2.5 kilometers up on the French sled, although there was a long skid there that's going to rob her of some time. It's a new track record. It was 1:08.88. It is now 1:06.6. So the track record goes for the first time today, and probably not the last.
The run 1:06.67.
A little late there, but in 16, let the sled rise with the pressure. I think that might be the accepted way now of dealing with those huge double pressures in 15 and 16. Just let the sled rise. Don't do anything to stop the momentum. Of course, then you've got to nail the landing. That was a good run from Lara Nolte, and a big smile from her as well. New track record. Next up for Canada, Christine De Bruyn with Kristen Bujnovski. 30-year-old driver Christine, World Championship bronze medalist in Whistler. She's had World Cup silver medals as well in Altenburg and Lake Placid, both drivers' tracks. And again, she's a long way down the track before she gets in. 6:56 start. Start record is 6:36. So Lara Nolte, Deborah Levy are only 500s away from the start record, as well as breaking the track record. Christine De Bruyn starting 1,500 slower, still in the red. 88.7 to 88.9 kilometers an hour of Lara Nolte, so just a fraction away from the German sled. That means the gap will grow a little. Out of corner 10. Here's 12. Into the long, fast-flowing 13 and 14. And then the big transition from 15 to 16. Whoosh, whoosh, straight off, straight on. Holds it very low. That's making the sled do a lot of work. 1600s, the gap's coming down. Her speed, we're not getting it through the speed traps at the moment. How close will she be at the line? 500s back. So she too is inside the old track record. Saw her coach Lyndon Rush. I'm sure he must have raced here in the last run. There's Graham Richardson, team manager for the Canadians. So Christine De Bruyn in second place. Nice looking exit there. A little late pressure though, with breaking into that skid as she tried to keep the nose down. Interesting line in 16, keeping it very low through both pressures. Next up for Belgium, Anne van Nieuwenhuis, 28-year-old former brakewoman, and Sarah Aerts, the double Olympian. Summer Games 2012 as a heptathlete, Winter Games Pyeongchang as a brakewoman in bobsleigh. And this is Anne's 43rd World Cup start, her 38th as a driver. Last time we were here, So still in the early years of her driving career, she finished in 13th place. 6.70 start. Now, let's see what they can do with this sled. And will join me in the booth this afternoon to call the two-man race, and tomorrow for the four-man as well. So she'll have great first-hand experience of this track. Again, returning after 5 years away. Half a second back, speed's good, 88.3 to 88.9 of Lara Nolte. 107.0, Nolte, the leader, just half a kilometre an hour quicker. So the gap's not going to come down too much. What have they got at the bottom? Laura had 125.4. Ooh, little rub on the wall, 123.6. So that gap is going to grow. She'll be behind Margot Bosch, but ahead of Misha McNeill in 4th place at the line. No, a fraction behind Misha McNeill, a 10th back. So 5th place for Anne van Nieuwenhuis and Sarah Ertz. And again, Anne's trademark, ducking ahead underneath the cowl to save a few hundreds on the run to the line. So here, quick crossover into 15 from 14. And then just nudged away into 16. Big first height. And then just holding that second pressure to try and get the exit she wanted off 16. Doesn't look overjoyed with that. But it's Lara Nolte, Christine De Bruyne and Margot Bosch, our top 3 after the first 5 sleds. Next up, Lyubov Chernik for Russia. 24-year-old, making her 11th World Cup start. She was 4th on her debut in Sigulda. That is still her World Cup best. Yulia Shoksheva in her 24th World Cup start. She's a real Russian brakewoman veteran now. 6.61 start for them. And immediately puts them 2/10 behind race leader Lara Nolte and Deborah Levy. 70.6 kilometres an hour, that's half a K down on the escape velocity of Lara Nolte. They're still half a K away, 4/10 back. 3rd fastest start, but in 4th place at the moment. And like so many of the drivers, Lyubov Chernik with no experience whatsoever of this track before now. There were Europa Cup races here in 2017. It's the most recent international bobsleigh racing on this track. Lyubov Chernik in 6th position at the moment. This is behind Anne van Nieuwenhuis of Belgium. And little rattle on the wall at the line. 101.56, so she, 59 rather, so she's 11 hundredths behind Van Nieuwenhuis. So 24-year-old driver, 31-year-old brakewoman. Yulia Shoksheva comes from St. Petersburg. And Lyubov from Krasnoyarsk in Siberia, one of the real powerhouses, particularly of Russian sliding, but of a lot of Russian winter sport. See how low she sits in the sled. Not the tallest of the athletes, but she looks around the cowl rather than over the peak. Lyubov Chernik in 6th position. Next up, last woman to win, not the last woman to win on this track, last currently competing woman to win on this track. She won in 11.12 and 12.13. Took a bronze medal last time out. 122nd World Cup start for Kaillie Humphries of the USA. And again, using her BTC sled. Lauren Gibbs leaps in. How close to the start record are they? 6.48. It's a 36 start record. Looking for career win number 25. Kaillie Humphries. She has 50 women's bobsleigh podiums. 1800s back on Lara Nolte. Speed very good, 88.5, that's the second quickest, but the German sled was a fraction faster. 107.0 to 107.5 of the FES sled of Lara Nolte. Kaillie in third place at the moment. There's only 500 separating first and second. What can she find at the bottom? Low line through 16. Neat and tidy all the way down to the bottom. And out of the final corner, across the line in third place. 2600s back. So third place for Kaillie Humphries. A 60.93 run. 2600s back. Looks like a few more questions and answers. Again, 5 years away. Yes, you've been on the track before several times, but not in recent memory. And finding those little moments, tidying up little touches on the wall that can make all the difference. That's for the second heat. Top speed at the bottom, 124.2 to 125.4 of Lara Nolte's FES sled. Piste libre now for Austria's Katie Beil, the 26-year-old junior world champion in her 24th World Cup start. European bronze medalist last year, junior world champion and 4th in the World Championships. What a big season it was last year for Austrian bobsledding with 25-year-old Jennifer Asania. Starts 6:61. .7 kilometers an hour, second fastest speed compared to Lara Nolte. Ooh, just a little late off 9. Tidies up through 10. And the big corner 12. Not a bad looking run at all from Katie Beil, but she's just losing a little bit of time, a little bit of pace. 2 kilometers an hour down on Lara Nolte at the last speed trap, neatly off 16. She let the sled rise and fall. 122.4 to 125.4, though 3 Ks down at the bottom. 5th fastest run, there's coach Wolfgang Stampfer. 101.37, 5th place. Ahead of Misha McNeill by 100th of a second. Margot Bosch, the first sled down, still in 4th position. It's a great looking run from the French girls on their World Cup debut. Well, there's Katie Beil. Dutch break athlete Jennifer Asania. You name a sport, she's done it. Her current favourite, American football. Sure, there's going to be something against playing that during the off-season. English cricket team will probably agree. Big height there in a first pressure of 16. Doesn't panic, just lets the sled come down, then holds it low. See the high line? Tom Delahunty definitely in favour of the athletes using that high line in both pressures, not fighting the G-force. For Switzerland now, Martina Fonteneve, her 19th World Cup start. The interior architect from Zurich with Nadia Pasternak. Born in Germany, grew up in Switzerland, now lives in France with Roman Heinrich. Her French, though, she says, is rubbish. She was so far behind in French lessons by the time she got to Switzerland, where they were all learning it, but she never really caught up. 6:59 start, fraction ahead of Katie Beil. That's the 4th fastest getaway in the field. Let's see what Martina can produce here. Nadia Pasternak, the brake woman, in what is her 6th bobsleigh race. 4 previous outings of the 5 were in Lake Placid. 4th fastest start, 6th position at the moment for Martina. Not a bad looking run. Little skid. 122 to 125.4 of Lara Nolte. German FES sled absolutely flying. 7th fastest, 101.39, 200s behind Katie Beil. And 100th behind Misha McNeill. So there is our first battle. 5th, 6th and 7th, Bile, McNeill, Fonteneve, covered by 2 whole hundredths of a second. We saw some amazingly tight racing in skeleton yesterday in the men's race. In our top 10 we had a tie for 5th, a 3-way tie for 7th and a 2-way tie for 10th. And Martina Fonteneve, 200s out of 5th. Well, next up, as Lauren Alter is our race leader. Final 4 sleds in race 4 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. Nadezhda Sergeyeva of Russia finished 11th here 5 years ago with Helena Mamedova behind her. 43rd World Cup start for the driver and the 4th for her brakewoman. 6:54, that's a pretty respectable start, 3rd quickest in the field. If she could claim a medal here, that would be a big result. European silver medalist in 2017. She took a silver medal in the World Cup races in Sigulda last year. She can get into the medals here. This is another great driver's track like Sigulda, not one that she knows over well. This is a good looking run so far, 3rd fastest start, but she's drifting out a fraction, 5th place at the moment. Little skid there as well is going to rob her of a fraction of speed. Maybe that fresh spritz really helping at Lauren Alter. Despite being the 4th set out, she's still got the highest speed. 101.50 for Nadezhda Sergeyeva. Well, that leaves her in 9th place at the line. So 15.16, working hard, and below there the speed drifting away. Sergeyeva with a new helmet and a black visor. Just a little rub there on the run down to corner 10. That's where the loose track comes in. Run down to corner 12, rather. Junior loose start comes in there, but Nadezhda Sergeyeva in 9th place, just ahead of Lubov Chernik. 900s ahead of Lubov Chernik, 200s behind Anne van Nieuwenhuis. Next up, Mariama Yamanka, 33rd at World Cup start for the Berliner, who now lives in Oberhof. Olympic and world champion Yamanka with Annie Dracek behind her, the 24-year-old in her 22nd World Cup start as a brakewoman. Dracek has won 6 of the last 8 of her World Cup starts. She's had 7 wins and 18 podiums as well as 2 World Cup golds and a silver, World Championship golds and a silver rather. So Dracek, an exceptional brakewoman. And that's a great start, 6:42, 2nd fastest. We're going to have a German leader at the end of this, but will it be Lauren Alter or the Olympic and world champion Mariama Yamanka? Yamanka lying 3rd in the World Cup rankings coming into this race, behind leader Kaillie Humphries and 2nd place Stephanie Schneider, who we have yet to see on the ice. And she is just 400s behind her teammate. 900s back, she's drifting away a fraction, still just in touch. Kaillie Humphries and Lauren Alter, the top 2 just 500s apart. She's not going to get to Humphries. Little rub on the wall there. 124 is very good speed. 125.4 though, Lauren Alter. How close will she be? Will she be in 2nd at the line? No, she's in 4th at the line. So beg your pardon, Kaillie Humphries is in 3rd. It's Christine de Bruyn who's 500s off the lead, the Canadian. So 4th place for Mariama Yamanka and Annika Dracek. A 60.94. So she's 100th behind Kaillie Humphries in the battle for bronze at the moment. We've still got Stephanie Schneider, last week's winner, to go. But look at the low line here. They just get onto 16 and hold it right down by the wall. Late exit there. You saw her getting bumped up in the seat. That's how much centrifugal force is still working on the sled. And then a long traverse of the track there. Jemańka's never raced here in her career. It's a brand new track, 6 training runs only. Stephanie Schneider has raced here, never in the front seat though. She's got Laci Fiebig behind her, the 29-year-old from Cologne, in her 5th World Cup start, her 2nd this season. And it's a 47th World Cup start. 25th now as a driver for Stephanie Schneider. Silver medalist in last year's World Championships and last week's winner. 6.40, fastest start, 400ths off the track record. That could go in the 2nd heat. And again, Schneider looking around the peak of the FES's cowl, sitting as low in the sled as she humanly can. 200ths is the advantage. And now Schneider's mistakes have cost her time. 2 or 3 late flops there, and another. 15 to 16, rubbed the wall on the inside, holds it low on the 2nd pressure, just a little tight to the short wall on the inside, hits it off 17. She's not going to be the leader. Will she be in 2nd? Only 500ths first to 2nd. It's unlikely she's going to split them. No, 3rd. She's 200ths ahead of Humphries, 300ths ahead of Jemańka. So Lara Nolte, who made her debut last week with a bronze medal in Winterberg, has the lead after both her teammates and Kaillie Humphries and Christina Bruhn have come down. Well, that was a late exit from Jemańka. She held the height, which was good, didn't quite judge the landing. And all those violent transitions there. You see the drive being thrown around. That's energy coming out of the sled, moving her about sideways, moving the brake woman sideways, moving the sled sideways. And all of that is energy that should be helping them accelerate down the mountain. Well, our final sled, making her 2nd World Cup start after debuting last week in Winterberg, Elena Osipenko. Our Europa Cup champion from last year, also raced in monobob last year and the year before. She was in the World Championships in Whistler last season. That was the first time we saw her. Anna Parfenova behind her, making her 10th World Cup start, most of which are previously behind Nadezhda Sergeva. Leaps in, big power stride at the end, trying to get some more speed into the sled. 6.68 start. Not a bad looking run so far for Elena Osipenko. 11th at the start, still in 11th place as she gets to turn 10. Little late flop out of 10 and 11. Through corner 12. Named for reasons that I'm not entirely sure. Pick. And the 15-16 transition again, holds it very low all the way through. Not a bad exit off 16. That'll give her speed towards the bottom of the track. 125.4 for our leader, Lara Nolte. 122.4 for Osipenko. Doesn't help her too far up the order. She's in 13th place, the last of the sleds that didn't crash. 101.74. Elena Osipenko gets it down without parking it. Anna Parfenova, I'm sure, will be grateful for that. But you can see the frown on her face. So many of these drivers having to learn the intricacies of this track. 19 turns in just 6 runs. Of course, you get to walk the track. It's very different from getting to drive the track. There you can see late runner pressure, just drifting into a little skid. Well, work to do, lots of thinking for Elena Osipenko. And our first heat leaders are Lara Nolte and Deborah Levy. A 10-minute track hold and trouble getting into the sled for Lara Nolte was not enough to distract her from a great drive down the track. 2nd fastest start of the competition, only 100 behind teammate Stephanie Schneider with Laci Fiebig as her brakewoman. But Lara Nolte drove the track better even than former double winner Kaillie Humphries. So big smile from Lara Nolte, and rightly so. The girl from Dortmund leads by 500ths from Christine de Bruyn. Then a three-way battle. Schneider, Humphries, Umanka, they could all end up winning this race, any of those three. Margot Bosch in 6th position. What a great debut for her. Ahead of Catty Bile. Bile in a battle with McNeill, and Fonteneve covered by just 200ths of a second. Then 200ths covering Anne van Nieuwenhuis and Nadezhda Sergeva. Well, that's it for our first heat. Women back on ice here at 11:30 local time, which is in 40 minutes from now, 10:30 Greenwich Mean Time. Wherever you are, join us please as the IBSF TV crew return with the second and deciding heat, race 4 of the Women's Bobsleigh World Cup.